Hello and welcome to the October edition of Spotlight Tampa. I'm Laura McRoy. Thanks for joining us. First, our spotlight shines on a new exhibit at the Tampa Bay History Center that takes us back in time. Spirited Prohibition in America. It examines life in the times of flappers and bootleggers. As curator of history Rodney Kite Powell says, it explores the not-so-secret speakeasies and so much more.
This exhibit has a lot of different elements to it. It, of course, has the drinking element of it. There actually are two bars in the exhibit. There's one that shows drinking life in saloons around the turn of the 20th century. Really a male-dominated institution, the saloon, and it was really the focal point for a lot of the anti-drinking efforts that were going on. Women like Carrie Nation, who would literally bring a hatchet and bust up these saloons, are featured in there. There also is the bar that I'm standing by right here, which is a speakeasy bar. Now, the speakeasies were the illegal bars that sprang up right really at the beginning of Prohibition and flourished throughout the Prohibition years. But this exhibit is a lot more than just drinking, whether legal or illegal. It really goes into the jazz age and talks about the music of the time. It talks a lot about the role of women overall in this time period. Now, you don't want to forget that the 19th Amendment, which followed, of course, the 18th Amendment outlawing alcohol, allowed women the right to vote. And the 19th was ratified just a year after the 18th was ratified. And women were a big part of course, both efforts, Prohibition and women's suffrage. Women also had a whole new role during the Prohibition era in the 1920s. Women really began to assert themselves during this era, not just politically with the right to vote, but also culturally and socially. And speakeasies were a big source of that and a big manifestation of that. Women were going out to bars with their husbands, which did not happen before. And so they were socially drinking, which really was a taboo before that. The dancing and everything, the Charleston was one of the main dances at the time. It was almost scandalous and would have been considered scandalous just a decade before, but they became commonplace. So you really had great social upheaval at the same time. And so this exhibit talks about that as well. Organized crime is another huge part of this exhibit and a huge part of the Prohibition era. And organized crime existed before Prohibition, but it was Prohibition that really financed that organized crime far more than any other illegal activity could. And so they really entrenched themselves, and even after the repeal of Prohibition in 1933, they were a force to be reckoned with and still are in some places today. The 1920s are really known for just a few really big events. Of course, in Florida, the land boom, it was the time of Prohibition, but also it was the jazz age. It was the real rise of jazz music and blues music. And it's really a truly American art form, one of the first truly American art forms. And they really went hand in hand, jazz music and these speakeasies, illegal drinking and going out dancing. And jazz music was really the soundtrack for the Prohibition era. It also was an interesting time because it's an art form founded in large part by African Americans. And so you had African American musicians playing in white clubs, and you had white people going to black clubs to hear jazz music. And so you had a real cross-mixing of cultures and the races, which you hadn't really had before. And all that was fueled by this illegal alcohol. And so it's a really interesting time and a really interesting mix of kind of people and cultures, and all really looking for a good time, which just a few years before would have been perfectly legal, but because of Prohibition, it was completely illegal. At the beginning of the exhibition here at the History Center, we put in a little local component because the exhibition itself is very national in scope. It looks at the big picture of Prohibition, and we wanted people to see what it was like here in Tampa and Hillsborough County during Prohibition. And so we had all of the things that the country had, but obviously a little smaller scale. But we also were a key point of importation for illegal alcohol because of our coastline. And also, Tampa was a very wet place before, with a lot of drinking going on. It was Hillsborough County was one of only 4 counties in all of Florida that still allowed drinking on the eve of Prohibition. But also, during Prohibition, it was a great source for illegal alcohol, not only coming in from the coast, but also being made out in the country. There were lots and lots of stills out in the rural areas, which really weren't that far away from the urban environment. So people could get alcohol in a lot of different ways. We have on the horizon a interesting exhibit, also a traveling exhibit from the Charles Schulz Museum. And you might recognize Charles Schulz as the creator of the Peanuts comic strip, and it's a Christmas-themed exhibit on Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown, the long-running animated Christmas cartoon. And so we're very fortunate to have that. It only travels a couple times a year, obviously around Christmas time. And so we actually booked that years ago, knowing we wanted to have that kind of Snoopy Christmas exhibit. And then after that, also going on with the theme of holidays in the area, we have a Art of Piracy exhibition opening up right around the time of Gasparilla. And so it's a pirate art exhibit. It's reflecting on the ways that piracy has been depicted in artwork in the 19th and 20th centuries. And so we've got lots of great artwork that go with that, plus some things about Gasparilla mixed in. So that's what's coming up here at the History Center.
Make sure you visit the Tampa Bay History Center before October 20th to see Spirited, Prohibition in America. You can also take advantage of the many educational and entertaining programs throughout the year by visiting the website at tampahistorycenter.org. Well, if you love a good ghost story, then the Tampa Theater is the place to be this October. Spotlight's Jill Witecki shows us what's in store for the 15 haunting days that they call A Nightmare on Franklin Street.
Tampa Theater is believed to be one of the most haunted buildings in Tampa. But around this time of year, the spirit really moves us to pull out all the stops for Halloween. Backed by popular demand, our Nightmare on Franklin Street series brings you 15 nights of petrifying programming with enough variety to haunt everyone, from the most die-hard horror fan to the most gentle ghosts and goblins. Looking for a classic creep fest? Join us for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Psycho Saturday, or a screening of films like Evil Dead, The Silence of the Lambs, or the 1932 sideshow thriller Freaks.
Mama!
Bringing the kids? We've got an entire day of family-friendly films like The Witches and Frankenweenie planned, plus an evening of live ghost stories with Tampa author Deborah Fretham. And for those of you who want to meet the real spirits that call Tampa Theater home, we've got ghost tours and an exclusive late-night, lights-off investigation with our friends from Genesis Paranormal Services. For dates, details, and tickets, visit our website at tampatheater.org or stop by our box office on Franklin Street in downtown Tampa. We'll be waiting for you.
The terrifying fun kicks off with the Rocky Horror Picture Show on October 17th, and the scares don't stop until Halloween. Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo is also gearing up for a family-friendly Halloween with its Zoo-Boo celebration. The annual event gives kids a fun, spooky, and safe place to enjoy Halloween festivities. Spotlight's Rachel Nelson reports on the top-notch haunted houses, trails, light displays, music, and free rides.
I'm Rachel Nelson reporting for Spotlight. We're here at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo for a preview of Zoo-Boo. When the darkness descends, watch out for werewolves in the newest alarming attraction, known as London Frightmare. Fall is here, and so is the 16th year of Fun and Fear at Zoo-Boo, Tampa Bay's largest family Halloween event. On select nights in October, the zoo transforms into a family fright zone with hair-raising haunts, seasonal displays and lights, new spooky fun fair games, night rides, specialty merchandise, and eerie adventures for monsters of all ages. This year, get goosebumps exploring London Frightmare, the newest haunt inspired by turn-of-the-century England's notorious sights and supernatural legends. The haunts at Zoo-Boo are designed to provide a startling experience for those who choose to participate. extensive decorations, animatronics, lights, sound effects, and costume characters inside haunts scare up a good time. Don't worry, each haunt is assigned a skull rating to indicate the scare factor, so you know before you go. Even the youngest boys and ghouls can enjoy Little Beastie's Bungalow, a dazzling display. It's a haunting holiday tradition, and it's only at Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo. For Spotlight Tampa, I'm Rachel Nelson.
A quick helpful note for parents, Zubu has a skull rating system that lets you know how scary something is before you enter with your children. The zoo also has areas geared for younger children, but no worries, there is no shortage of fun that appeals to older children or adventurous youngsters. Not only does the Tampa Police Department keep your city streets safe, but the waterways as well. Climb aboard as we go for a ride with the Tampa Police Department's Marine Unit.
Hi, my name is Officer Brian Cravens. I'm with the Tampa Police Department for 19 years now. Assigned in the Marine Unit. This is my third year on the Marine Unit. And what I'm standing on right now is our 35-foot Defiant class vessel. It's a all-weather response vessel, completely enclosed cabin. And we use this vessel for port security as well as escorting large ships in and out of the port. We're ready to go take a ride. 67 miles of waterway that the city of Tampa has around it. It's quite large when you think about it. We have 3 boats deployed here in the port. We have Boston Whaler over there, which is a little bit more of a quicker response boat. That's a great all-around, all-purpose dive platform also. And then we have 2 other boats we keep in the water on the other side. One there by West Shore Yacht Club area, which is a 32-foot Donzi, and then we have a 20-foot Proline, which is a flats boat for shallow water application up there by the Courtney Campbell. Part of our responsibilities includes the entire port of Tampa, which is a major hub for gasoline and chemicals to come into Florida. We also respond all the way down around MacDill Air Force Base, assist the base with security around their perimeter. And then also we handle all 3 bridges, the Howard Franklin, the Gandy, and the Courtney Campbell. So any kind of response, emergencies in the water, any kind of problems out there, we respond to that. We try to do both enforcement and education. We are allowed to stop any vessel on the water at any time and perform a safety inspection because you're required to carry certain safety gear on your vessel. And so we'll stop and conduct those safety checks. And a lot of times people are lacking one or more of their safety equipment. Depending on the situation, we can either cite them or we can give them an education, provide them with literature. This is the proper equipment you need to carry at all times. With the cruise lines, we escort them primarily out of the bay here because of the recreational vessel traffic. You've got to stay a certain distance away from the cruise ship for safety, as well as the cruise ship being so big, it has limited mobility. You know, it's got to stay within the channel. It cannot venture out because of its draft. Obviously, the boat ramps are one of our responsibilities, especially during the weekends. It gets very busy. A lot of people trying to launch at the same time. Has a tendency to flare tempers. A lot of times we'll stop, again on the weekends primarily, and stop and get out and walk the parking lot, do security through the parking lot, making sure that no tampering with the vehicles. You know, we're surrounded on 3 sides by water. It's a lot of water out here. There's a lot of boating, recreational boaters out here, a lot. And it's a high traffic destination.
So the next time you're on the water and you see the Marine officers, be sure to wave and thank them for all they do to ensure your day on the bay is a safe one. The number of veterans seeking care at James A. Haley Hospital has spiked since the beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Not only does the hospital provide care for service members, it also offers support to their families. And now, the Tampa chapter of the Military Officers Association of America is helping. Spotlight's Frank Crum reports on Operation Helping Hand that offers aid and comfort to families.
Thank you all for coming. I hope you find it well worth your while. I'm sure you will.
At least once a month at the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital,
one nation, under God, indivisible.
Hospital staff and patients can all agree,
Almighty and everlasting God, we thank you for this food we're about to receive.
that dinner is truly the most important meal of the day, because that's when volunteers literally line up to serve meals to wounded and injured military service personnel and their families. The monthly dinners are part of a program called Operation Helping Hand. It's run by the Tampa chapter of the Military Officers Association of America. Bob Seiler, a retired U.S. Navy captain, started Operation Helping Hand in 2004.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. When I came home, there wasn't any parades, there wasn't anybody to help us with anything, and I thought, if that's the case that happened to me and a lot of the other people I know, it's not going to happen to the people from Iraq and Afghanistan. So we help them where probably nobody else would.
Operation Helping Hand relies on Veterans Affairs caseworkers at the hospital to identify patients' requests of a non-medical nature.
We need money for gas, we need money for a hotel, we need money for subsistence. Anything that they come up with for a reason, we will approve it.
In the course of 10.5 years, the program has helped over 900 patients. Annually, 96.5% of all of its donations go directly to patients and their families.
Welcome to Operations Helping Hand's 123rd consecutive dinner to honor our wounded and injured heroes here at James Haley Hospital and their families.
Operation Helping Hand does so much more than providing a free meal, but the meals offers fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers, the chance to do what families do best: fellowship.
Nothing pleases me more than to continue work. It's a self-satisfying thing.
Sergeant Miguel Capacho Escobar, United States Marine Corps.
I want them to know that there's somebody out there that cares about them. And that's enough satisfaction for me.
This is Frank Crum for Spotlight Tampa.
Operation Helping Hand gives over 90% of all donations directly to the support of military families. If you'd like to help, just visit their website at moaatampa.org. Daylight savings time is right around the corner, and the people at the Tampa Water Department want you to use that extra hour to maintain your lawn's watering system. We head out to the Hillsborough County Extension Service for the story.
Hello, my name is Julia Floschak. I'm with the City of Tampa Water Department. Today I wanted to talk to you about the time change. November 2nd we will fall back, which means we all get a chance to do over that 1 hour. And what are you going to do with that hour? I have an idea. You can check the time on your irrigation system controller. It's really important when you fall back to also take a look at the date and time on your irrigation controller. And to help us with that today, I'm with Lynn Barber. She's the Florida Friendly Landscaping Agent with UF-IFAS, Hillsborough County. Thank you, Lynn, for joining us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming over.
I love being in the Betty S. Walker Discovery Garden, and it's the perfect place to talk about how to manage your irrigation controller, don't you think?
I think so too.
So we're talking about changing not just the time on the irrigation controller, because time changes. We're also going to talk a little bit about changing the runtime on your clock as long as you're standing there and it's fall. So what I've been learning is that you can change the number of minutes that your system runs for the seasons.
Absolutely, that's correct. And I think we even looked up a University of Florida document on their electronic document system, which is edis, edis.ifas.ufl.edu. And in that document, Julia, it talks about the 4 seasons of the year and how many minutes you should be running your irrigation system. And it does not decrease the quality of your turf grass.
I took a look at that document, and it really is pretty simple to understand. When you get right down to this last table here, I think is what you're talking about. And it just simply gives you summer, fall, winter, spring.
If you have a spray in the winter, you can do one of 2 things. Ideally, you would just shut your system off, so you would be watering for 0 minutes. Or if you felt that it was dry and you really needed a little bit of irrigation, you could actually run that zone, that system, for 0 to 10 minutes. And that would work just fine. And a rotor, the ideal, would be less than 10 minutes in the winter for ideal, and the range would be 0 to 20 minutes.
So one of the things that I notice here about this table is that, for example, in the summertime we might run for 25, in the fall we're dropping to 15, and in the winter we're dropping to 0.
Correct.
But that's pretty simple, just 4 times a year.
It is, and there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is in the wintertime plants are dormant in Florida.
Even lawn?
Even lawn. So, you know, your St. Augustine may be like that really nice green during the summer and maybe in the spring and the fall.
If I'm lucky.
If you're lucky. But in the winter, it's not going to be the same color of green because it's dormant. And plants do not require the same amount of water when they're dormant. And the one thing about the University of Florida is that all the information that's provided is science research based. So it's not something that people dream up. It's actually scientific research is conducted in order to come up with these statistics.
Well, that's great. So I think we should get to the irrigation controller, and we'll be making the setting adjustment for time.
Okay.
And then also for our fall run time. The first thing we'd like to do is just double check that we have the correct date to begin with, don't you think?
I think that's a good plan, because we need to know what the date is in order to be sure that we have it set correctly in November. So we're going to go from manual to date. Oh, but we have to turn it on program. So we need to adjust that date to November 2nd.
Now, we want to make sure that we set the time back an hour.
All right.
Because we're going to fall behind.
That's correct. All right, so then we're done with that.
Well, that was just so easy, and it really only took seconds. And we didn't even get dirty. So, I mean...
we have to do more then, don't we?
It's way too easy. Okay, Lynn, this is your rain sensor device. Now, just refresh our memory. Why do we have one of these?
All right, we have a rain sensor. It's like an irrigation shut-off valve, because if it rains, there's really no need to irrigate if we get 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch per irrigation. So we really don't need to have our system running when we get 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So the rain shutoff device stops the system. It overrides the system from turning on when we get that amount of water.
Okay, now why is this wire just hanging here?
Well, because this is a wireless unit. There are wired and wireless units. Some units actually have a wire that connects them from the control panel, which is probably in your garage, then along the roof line potentially to wherever you have it located. But wherever you locate it, you want to make sure that it's not under a roof line, or that it's not blocked by a lot of plant materials or trees, things like that, because you want to make sure that you're getting that rainfall on this device.
Okay. You know, let's turn on the irrigation system and show people how to check their system.
Okay.
So I'll man the rain sensor if
I'll
you
turn the system on. Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, Lynn, the system's on, yeah?
It's on.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm going to push down the plunger. You keep an eye on the system.
All right, I'm watching it.
All right. Is it off?
It's off.
All right, great. That was simple. Now, one of the things I wanted to show people too is that if you simply turn that and pull it up, you can see the discs that expand and cause the system to turn off. And they do need to be cleaned periodically, and actually, as long as I have this out, I think we'll give it a little cleaning, Lynn. You need to do a little housekeeping.
I definitely do, on many fronts.
But it's easy enough to get to and make the adjustments. Very good, thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome. Did you know that rain shut-off devices are required on all in-ground irrigation systems?
I thought that it needed for new ones.
There used to be a grandfather in period, but with the creation of the Florida Friendly Landscaping Statute, which is a Florida statute, in 2009 it took away the grandfather clause. So anyone that has an in-ground irrigation system, it's required by law that they actually have a rain shut-off device.
Well, this is a good time for me to tell our customers that if you need a rain shut-off device and you're a customer of the City of Tampa, all you need to do is ask for one and we'll mail you one for free. So it's a great deal.
It is a great deal.
Yes. Thanks, Lynn, for hosting us today. And now our customers can see that it really just takes a few minutes to change that clock on their irrigation controller and prepare for the fall behind. And so, if you would like to have more information about making your home and landscape more water efficient, please visit tampagov.net.
I'm Haley Sarasola, and I'm on the USF campus at the CART Laboratories, where virtual reality is now a reality.
Use of the Karen system is really multimodal and multi-purposed. Karen stands for Computer Assisted Rehabilitation Environment.
I was in the Marines 1960 to 68. In 1965 I was in Vietnam. I was wounded in Vietnam in a mine explosion and gunfire. The simulator is pretty much teaching me balance and shifting my weight from left to right or leaning forward or backwards to pick up speed or reduce speed, which are all really good things, especially for an amputee.
It has a 6-degree of freedom platform as well as a split belt treadmill with instrumented force plates. It also has a 10-camera motion capture system, which is able to track the motion of markers that are placed on a subject. And as well as a virtual reality screen that allows us to change the environments and display as somebody is walking on the treadmill.
It's great because I can feel the difference in my balance just trying to go around those buoys.
It definitely sets us apart as a university to say that yes, we are interested in finding new ways to collaborate and pull different departments together to get a 360 view from multiple disciplines to look around real human problems and think about ways to improve quality of life for people.
We learn from the patients, and so if we're all working together for a common goal, I think that everything can advance quite a bit faster.
USF and USF Health continue to be leaders in new groundbreaking and innovative technology. For Spotlight Tampa, I'm Haley Sarasola.
Well, stay with us. There's much more Spotlight Tampa to come right after the break.
The From the Core news team is hard at work crafting stories designed to encourage Tampa's youth and help them meet their challenges. Every show brings viewers information about events and issues relevant to teens, providing teens with an avenue for exposure, expression, and self-reflection. 3 good reasons why From the Core is worth watching. Be sure to catch From the Core anywhere by going to the City of Tampa YouTube channel and the City of Tampa Television, Verizon Vios Channel 15, and Bright House Networks Channel 615.
Welcome back to Spotlight Tampa. I'm Laura McElroy. Mayor Bob Buckhorn joined East Tampa community leaders to celebrate local civil rights pioneer Clarence Fort. He was a trailblazer who organized the first lunch counter sit-in at Tampa's Woolworth department store back in February 1960. Now, a newly renovated park is named the Clarence Fort Freedom Trail in his honor.
One, two, three.
And Clarence Fort, in 1960, as the new president of the NAACP Youth Council, led 50 Blake and Middleton high school kids under the leadership of Dr. Leon Lowry, and I saw Doretha Edgecombe here, one of our school board members, into the counter at the Woolworths on Franklin Street. Now that counter may not exist today, but what Clarence Fort did on that day is going to be remembered forever. And so September 1960, September 14th, 1960 specifically, 55 years ago, the Woolworths lunch counters were integrated. And in this city, we did it without violence. We did it because of the leadership of not only Clarence Fort, but folks like Leon Lowry and Bob Saunders, and many of those who came before him. We did it without the violence that occurred in places like Birmingham. We did it because this community recognized, and I think to this day it is what makes this city special, that we are stronger together, that we are better together, that our diversity makes us more competitive, and we need to honor the value of every human being. But it would not have happened without the NAACP, and it would not have happened without the courage of a young man named Clarence Fort.
Over the past 54 years since the sit-ins, I have been interviewed by various news media, news outlets, month after month. Every Black History Month, I make 7, 8, 9, and 10 presentations to schools and civic organizations with the question being asked, why did you do it? What was going through your mind? And how did you feel to take that first seat? Were you afraid? Who encouraged you to do it? As I stand here today, with this great honor being bestowed upon me, the following remarks will answer those questions. You see, it was never about me. It was never about me. It was about a young man that delivered prescription drugs on a bicycle to help pay his way through Barber in business college. It was about a people that could spend $500 in a part of a store, but not have the opportunity to buy a hot dog and a Coke and be able to sit down and eat it at a lunch counter. It was about a people that filled the seats of buses all week long, but never having the opportunity to see a driver that looked like them. It was about a Trailways bus driver trainer that see the people when they came on. It was about a Trailways driver that paid for fellow drivers' breakfast when a white driver got up and left as we sit down to eat our meal. It was that driver years ago went and found that driver and paid for his breakfast. I thank him today for doing such an honor. It was about the young mothers that did not have money to feed their children on bus routes, and the funds were provided for them. It's the new driver recruits that a driver trainer refused to let them fail. It's about the president of the Hillsborough County Democratic Party that refused to take no for an answer and demanded that a young African-American bus driver be served lunch with her charter party in Clewiston, Florida. The young man that got in trouble with the law, and a program was started to help save our children. It's the thousands of children whose life was changed because they were told failure is not an option. It's the grandmother and her 5 children that was given the opportunity to ride in a parade in her old car. It's about hundreds of children that never had a chance to march in a Gasparilla parade. It was the Eagles Band from Kingston, Jamaica that washed cars, clean lawn, sell papers, and other fundraisers to come to America and participate in the Dr. King's parade. It's about a young bride having a faith in her husband to help change the history of a city, the county, and the state, to help make this country a better place for all mankind. It was about a little girl and a little boy that woke up each morning knowing their dad would be there. It's about the elderly couple that waved my bus down between Thomasville, Georgia, and Tallahassee, Florida. When the door was open, they stood there frozen. And the female began to weep and thank God for letting her live long enough to ride a bus driven by an African-American driver.
The Clarence Fort Freedom Trail is located in East Tampa in the 3800 block of East Osborne Avenue. 3 boardwalk sections allow visitors to walk along the water's edge on the scenic half-mile trail. That delicious smell wafting over downtown Tampa on the first Wednesday of the month can only be the Mayor's Food Truck Fiesta. We sent out our very own CTTV intern, Kinane Palamatam, to check out this month's tasty event.
Well folks, it's that time of the month again. It's the Mayor's Gaslight Food Truck Festival. I'm Kinane Palamatam, and this is Spotlight Tampa.
It's our first time, and we are with the Hub BBQ truck right here, and we got pulled pork sandwiches with sides of mac and cheese. It's awesome. Yeah, they're very organized. It's our first time to the park here for the rally, and it was our first pick.
We had the chance to talk with Steven Stallgood, the proud food truck owner of I Wanna Walk. He's been coming to Gaslight Park for about a year, serving up flavorful Pan-Asian cuisine.
Well, my mother has always wanted to own a restaurant, and but it's a lot of money to start a brick and mortar. So I just decided that let's start off with the food truck. You know, we can work our own hours, set our own schedule, and it's the cost it's a lot less to start up the truck.
Well, that's a wrap for this month's Food Truck Fiesta. I'm Kinane Palamatam, and this is Spotlight Tampa.
Check out the Fiesta. Each month, old favorites join delicious newcomers to bring something special to Like's Gaslight Square Park. The City of Tampa wants you to get out of your house and enjoy the beauty of our city. Whether it's on foot, on bike, or even in your car, City Transportation Engineer Calvin Thornton is doing his best to make sure your trip is fun and safe. We join Calvin today on the Courtney Campbell Causeway to learn more.
Calvin Thornton. I'm the City of Tampa Bicycle and Pedestrian Engineer. The City of Tampa fairly recently launched a program where we will make all our streets complete streets. As a result of that, the city decided to choose engineer to make sure that we made the streets available to all users, bicyclists, as well as pedestrians. A complete street is making the roadway available to all users, bicyclists, pedestrians, motor vehicles, as well as transit. A complete street also has landscaping, lighting, other components that makes the road much more user-friendly. It's an exciting time for bicycle and pedestrian. Over the last 30 years, we've installed 30 miles of bike lanes. We're also scheduled to install 35 additional miles of bike lanes within the next 3 years. Also, we have installed 72 miles of trails throughout the city. So for bicycle and pedestrian, we're providing those facilities so where if you want to get out and walk or ride a bicycle, we have those facilities. We're at the Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail. This was a trail built by Florida Department of Transportation. The City of Tampa also have some components along this trail. We are providing restrooms along the trail. This trail will connect Tampa to Pinellas County. If you want to ride a bike in Tampa, there's all different types of trails. We have, for instance, the Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail, which is on the water. We have trails that are in parks. We have trails that are wilderness. We have trails along Bayshore. So whatever your riding needs are, we have trails, or we have bike lanes, or we have facilities to accommodate you.
The transportation folks are in the early stages of planning for a protected bike lane along Azeel Street in South Tampa. Stay tuned, you know your Spotlight crews will be there to show you the latest developments. The Mayor's Alliance for Persons with Disabilities is making progress. The advocacy group is helping people with disabilities establish independent and fulfilling lives. It also awards individuals and businesses that promote opportunities for people in the disabled community.
The City of Tampa Mayor's Alliance for Persons with Disabilities recently held its 26th annual awards luncheon at the Doubletree Hotel West Shore.
Those of you who don't want to see your names in the newspaper, who get up because you believe in what you do and how you recognize that if we're going to prosper as a community, if we're going to rise, we must also lift. And that means lifting those who perhaps have disabilities in their life, those of us that see what you do every day, the unheralded heroes in this community who are making a difference in the lives of people in ways that you can't even imagine. My hat goes off to you. I mean, this is your day.
During the luncheon, businesses, media groups, and individuals who have helped to improve the lives of citizens with disabilities were recognized. Among them was Sandra Soroka, a Hillsborough County community liaison and tireless advocate for persons with disabilities. Soroka received the distinguished Joe Sanchez Jr. Leadership Award. She was honored to receive an award named after her esteemed colleague.
We started way back before the days of ADA and before the days when disability access and disability rights was very prevalent in any community. And just in his memory, I thank you all, and it's been a pleasure working with probably almost everyone in this room.
Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Dr. William Fox Jr. delivered the keynote address. Back in 2008, Dr. Fox was severely injured when his vehicle was struck by a roadside bomb in Iraq. He was glad to share with the crowd his road to recovery.
It's timely that I stand up and speak about for all the wounded veterans and people with disabilities to be able to tell them that there is hope at the end of their journey to get recovered. And that I can prove that by what I was able to do. Stand up and be able to give a speech in front of people when I couldn't stand up before at all. So that was why I thought it was exciting to do it.
This is Frank Crum for Spotlight Tampa.
More than 300 volunteers are supporting the Mayor's Alliance. If you'd like to get involved, check out their webpage on tampagov.net. A very lucky sea turtle by the name of Freud has returned to the wild. As Spotlight's Mary McCune reports, the tender, loving medical care from USF and the Florida Aquarium nursed him back to health.
It's been a long time coming for the vet staff here at the Florida Aquarium today as they prepare for the release of the green sea turtle named Freud. Freud washed up on Navarre Beach back in 2012, and he is finally ready to get back to his rightful place in the Gulf. This is a dream come true for those who discovered Freud nearly 2 years ago. Alone and bloated alongside piles of algae on the beach, Freud was thought to have a tear in his lung. However, with the partnership of the Florida Aquarium and USF Health, they managed to give him a second chance. Thanks to the USF Health Center for Advanced Medical Learning and Simulation Facility, they were able to take CT scans and construct a three-dimensional model of his lung to fix the tear. After his diagnosis, recovery and rehabilitation began at the Florida Aquarium, all in the hopes to release the endangered sea turtle back into the water.
I am the veterinary technician and sea turtle stranding coordinator for the Florida Aquarium. Freud came to the aquarium back in January of 2013 from another facility, and he was extremely buoyant. Through the medical personnel from University of South Florida, we have been lucky enough to get him healed, and we're going to release him back out into the wild. Most of the time when you have to try and find somewhere that can do a CT scan or an MRI on an animal, it's very difficult and you have to go to specialty clinics. Because they are so close to us, it's been an excellent partnership and they've been wonderful to work with and squeezing us in and helping us design and configure where his problems were to help resolve them. Normally we release our turtles where they were picked up, and because he was picked up in the Panhandle, that was a long drive for us, so we asked if we could release further south and be able to get our USF folks involved as well so they could be part of the release since they've helped out so much. And they said Fred Howard Park was an approved spot for us to do it. So we're going to pack Freud up and we will take him up to Fred Howard Park up in Tarpon Springs for a release.
A true Cinderella story for Freud, all thanks to the cooperation of these two amazing organizations. Reporting from Tarpon Springs, this is Mary McCune for Spotlight Tampa.
The Florida Aquarium, along with many other zoos, aquariums, and science centers, participate in a national marine animal stranding network. It helps critters like Freud get the help they need when they wash up on the beach. On that note, all of us here at City of Tampa Television hope you have a great day.